Good evening. Welcome back to the kitchen. It's time to make supper. And this evening for supper, we're going to be making gratin. Now, this is not the way everybody would make it. This is the way I make it, especially at home. I want it to be a bit more hearty. This is the way I would make it. Obviously, seeing I'm making it. So, we're going to start off with a nice heavy pot. This one's got a good heavy bottom onto it, so it's not going to burn up very easily. We're going to start with an onion and dice it. And when everything comes apart, you got nice little diced onions. It can be as large as you want, and we're going to gently saute off the onions. We don't need to wait for the pot to heat up exactly. That would be nice if I had set it up that way, but it's not necessary. I'm going to turn on my oven there now, 350. I don't need it yet, but I want it ready for when I'm ready. So we're going to need some butter. So this part is called sweating the onion. What you're looking to do is draw out some of the moisture of it, start frying the onions a bit. This was one large onion. It could have been less depending on how you feel about onions. And the idea at this point is to get it to the translucent stage that the onions are almost cooked through. Then we're going to start adding the next ingredients. Now, if you're really liking onion flavor, it'd be great to saute this off until it starts to brown up a little bit. It would definitely bring out your flavors a bit more. Not exactly what I'm going to do. I like the onion flavor, but I don't want to take the time to saute the onion that much. That, and I don't want it to disappear inside the dish. You can see it's starting to brown right here. But that's about what we're looking for. It's just a little shy of going fully translucent. And now we're going to add 2 cups of water. Now this is a bit specific because I'm going to be using some instant mashed potatoes with this recipe. So 2 cups of water just went in. The next thing I'm going to do is break up some of my frozen fish and put into the pot. I'm counting on there being at least a cup of water in among all this frozen fish. And I'm going to bring that up to a boil. So here's our fish. You can still see it's pretty translucent at this point. This is still raw. But the interesting thing is you start turning it over and the fish is flaking away. It's no longer translucent. There's another piece of fish that was more submerged and it is nice and cooked on the outside. Still a bit raw in the middle, but that's fine. That's what we're looking for. You can see a piece like this that is cooked on the outside, and right here in the middle you can see the translucent part right there. So it's still a little undercooked. That's fine. That's edging up towards where we want it. Some of the smaller pieces have already cooked. You can tell easily because you press on it and it just comes right apart. And when you look on the inside, yeah, this one's still just a little underdone. But this one's almost done. It's still a little translucent right across the middle. This part showing it a little bit better. That is a little translucent right in the middle. Another few seconds and those pieces will be cooked. Doesn't take much to cook fish. So I'm being a little rough with this, and I am knocking the pieces about. I do want to break them up from their portion size that I started with, because I do want it to cook a little faster. I don't need huge pieces of fish. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable base. It's not a necessary thing, but it does help. Cod on its own is not super powerfully flavorful, so a little vegetable stock in the water will help concentrate the flavor a little bit and help bring things along the way we want it. So I got a nice baking dish here, a little square Pyrex dish. Gonna lay this one on the stove top, let it warm up a little bit, and I'm going to get a very large slotted spoon, bit of a pasta spoon, usually used for that, or taking other things out of poach water. Now, this is going to be the one part of the recipe where you can make a real mess of things, literally. We want to take all the fish and onions out of our poaching pot, put it into that Pyrex dish, and then we want to make our mashed potatoes in our poaching pot. So all that water that the fish poached in, that's what we want to use to make our sauce, essentially, for the cod gratin. So if you have a look here, start seeing that all the fish looks nice and cooked. I don't need it to be perfectly cooked at this point because it's still going to steam in the pan over here while it's waiting for the mashed potatoes. And even if it's not cooked by the time the mashed potatoes are done, when the mashed potatoes are cooked, it all gets mixed back in together and it'll become hotter and cooked more then, and it still gets added to the oven afterwards. But we don't want this to be too runny of a sauce. So that's why I'm using this spoon with lots of holes into it to be able to drain out all of the onions, drain out all the water, from it. I'm going to go around the pot a few times. It's not a big deal if I miss things. If I don't get all the fish or all the onions out, that's okay. It's not a big deal for that. But it will kind of muck up the recipe a little bit. So I am going to try to get as much out as I can. I just don't want to spend forever doing it. It's not worth that kind of time investment. Right, that seems to be the majority of it, so we'll lay that aside. I might need that spoon again later, so we'll hold on to that. Now, at this point, we need to look at the recipe for the instant mashed potato. I'm using a Betty Crocker recipe, or Betty Crocker product of instant mashed potato. If you follow my recipe and you do this, the instructions may be different depending on what brand name of instant mashed potatoes that you use. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do here is go get my measuring cup, and I'm going to measure out how much water I actually got in the poach pot here. Because while I don't want it too runny, I don't want to have so little water in the mix that my instant mashed potatoes come out like cement. Now, my mashed potato recipe says I need 3 cups of water, so I'm going to measure out. So I got about 3.5. Well, that says I'm at about 3 1/3. So I'm going to add just a little bit of water to that, bring it up to 3.5, or thereabouts anyway. I don't need it to be exact. So I'm going to put my liquid back in the pot. I don't need the measuring cup anymore. We put the pot back on the stove and let that come up to temperature again, because I just added some water to it, so it's going to be a little cold. Also says you need 6 tablespoons of butter. I'm kind of counting on having that in there from frying the onions, so I'm not going to add much more in the way of butter. It also calls for half a cup of milk, and I will put that in there at a bit later of a point, not just yet. I'm going to turn up my temperature on the stove a little bit, try to get the temperature in my pot to come up a bit, and then we'll be able to add our package of instant mashed potato. So the idea is going to be here that we get the mashed potato done. It's going to be a little on the runny side, kind of counting on boiling out a little bit of the liquid that's in it. So as soon as the mashed potato is done, I'll add the half cup of milk, and then I'll put the fish back into it, mix it all in the saucepan that we're poaching everything in, and when that is done, it should be just a little running. It'll need to sit for a few minutes, and we'll put it back in the Pyrex dish again and cover it with cheese and put it in the oven. So right now we're waiting for the pot again to come up to temperature. So there goes to the rapid boil. Instant mashed. This one is a butter and herb variety. So I'm going to remove it from the heat here now because I don't want that to bubble away too much. Get it over here on a cold unit. Start stirring everything together. Even now you can see that it's still pretty thick. This would still be acceptable consistency for mashed potato if that's where we were going with this. Now we're going to add the milk. So of course when you need it you can't find it. So because I can't find my half cup measure, I'm going to add 2 quarters of a cup. So you can see that this is thickened up nicely. And if you were just making instant mashed potato, you'd be done. Okay, so my phone stopped recording for a minute. So you kind of missed me mixing the fish in with the potatoes. Last bit you saw was me mixing around the mashed potatoes. Unfortunately, it's too late to go back and do it again to show you again. So we're going to have to pick up where I left off, and you'll have to trust that mixing in the fish with the mashed potato, it's not that big a deal. It is something you want to be careful with. It is one of those areas where you could easily make a mess, and you should be then at this point. So potatoes and the fish has all been mixed together. Now you want to take some cheese. I did add a little bit more lemon pepper on the top. So that's about what we want for that. Now I have the oven heated up here. See, it's gone off for me. I don't need it to bake, so I'm going to clear that off and turn off the timer. I'm actually going to put it on broil and low. And this is where we'll put the pan in the oven. So now we're going to give it a couple of minutes. We want to toast the cheese on the top, nice and melted and just getting crispy. We don't want to blacken anything. This is a very nice, strong cheese. It's going to taste some good on this. So now that we're waiting for our meal to properly crisp up a bit, one of the things I'm trying to do, put things in soak so that they're easier to clean when it comes time to clean them. And with it being a fishy product and I got 2 cats in the house, I don't want them up on the counter eating fish out of the pan. Don't want to encourage bad habits. You can see it's just starting to melt. That's almost where we want, but we want it to be a little crispier than that. So as you could see, the cheese is just starting to brown here on the sides. So now all that's left is to dish it up. And I will confess, I think I've made this too thick again. It's much more like dishing up a creamy mashed potato at this point. Hope you enjoy your cottage gratin. That's some really nice stuff. Time to call the family to supper table. Supper! That's the end of another video. Hope you found this helpful and informative. Maybe give you a different perspective on how to make and serve cottage gratin. It is just about where I would want it for creaminess and everything. It should be maybe just a little bit more looser. I should have maybe added just a little bit more water or a little bit more milk. Either one would have worked, but it tastes so good. It should be consistency of a bit of a loose mashed potato. A really creamy whipped mashed potato kind of consistency. But it's so tasty. You have yourself a great day. I'll see you in the next video. My name is Steven, and this has been Hearts Delight Exports. I guess I gotta share some of this with them. Maybe not.